Hello and welcome to the Tech and Sports Podcast. Tech and Sports is a show about how technology is revolutionizing all the major sports, as well as health and fitness. You can find it on your podcast service of choice. My name is Alex Coop, and I'm here with the fantastically amazing Mandy Kovacs.
Hello.
This week we're talking about how different the sports world will look in the next decade because of technology, plus all the biggest news from the last week, new apps or wearables, and your weekly concussion update.
But before we get to that, we do have some really sad news, unfortunately. I'm actually leaving IT World Canada next week, so this will be the last episode of Tech and Sports for now. So we've gained an amazing number of followers, so thank you all, the thousands of you that have really given us a chance over the last year. We really appreciate your support. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're not going away forever, so there's a really good chance that Tech and Sports will start up again soon in some sort of capacity, so please don't forget about us in that time. I'm hoping to maybe get the old gang back together, so bear with us for a few weeks until that happens. So with that, sit back and relax, because for potentially the last time, the Tech and Sports crew is entering the game. All right, so first up is World Cup news again, because the tournament officially wrapped up on Sunday. Unfortunately, we are recording this before the final match, but I'm rooting for Croatia. I don't know about you, Coop.
So am I. I've been rooting for the underdog this entire tournament, and they have performed very well, so Why not continue to do that?
Yeah, I agree. And so when it comes to social media, marketing company Social Bakers has kept track of who and what teams have been the most successful online. So interestingly, Mexico is still leading the way in mentions on Facebook and Twitter, with almost 4.5 million interactions since the tournament began, followed closely by France, who's seen about 4.1 million interactions since the tournament started, and Argentina comes in third with 3.5 million interactions. England comes in fourth at 3.2 million mentions, and Brazil rounds out the top 5 with 2.6 million interactions. Funny enough, Belgium is barely in the top 10 with about 1.5 million mentions. And Croatia isn't even in it at all. They rank about 12th on the list with just shy of 1 million interactions so far. And mind you, these stats are from the days leading up to the semifinal games, so those could very well change or skew the results. We'll hopefully fill you in at some point. And then when it comes to individual players, Neymar is leading the way on social media with more than 10.6 million interactions, thanks to his embarrassing dive that has now turned into a meme, because of course, the internet loves memes.
So many memes.
I know. And then Ronaldo ranks second, which is really no surprise, with more than 8.7 million interactions, while Messi is a distant third with only 4.8 million mentions. Harry Kane comes in fourth with 1.7 million, and Toni Kroos rounds out the top 5 with just over 1 million mentions, despite Germany failing to advance beyond the group stage almost 3 weeks ago. It's kind of incredible that he's stayed in the top 5 for so long.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, he is part of one of the better teams, or one of the teams that was supposed to be one of the top contenders. But that makes sense. And with Messi sort of being the distant third, that's also kind of makes sense. They've fallen off the World Cup scene for a while now, obviously after their loss. So, and I feel like a lot of the chatter around Messi is based on his performance or the lack thereof,
which was not great. Yeah.
So that's where all the chatter is coming from.
Definitely understandable. And then another World Cup story, which is kind of more of a PSA for everyone, a public service announcement. So we had a whole discussion dedicated to the cyber risks of big tournaments like the World Cup a few weeks ago. And I wanted to share one piece of news coming from McAfee, one of the biggest cybersecurity companies in the world. So apparently an app called Golden Cup was installing spyware on the devices of fans who downloaded it, which they thought it would let them stream games, both past and present. So however, in the background and without user consent, the app was silently transferring information like phone numbers, installed apps, device model and manufacturer, as well as available internal storage capacity and a bunch more of data to cyber criminals who would then use this information to harm fans that had downloaded the app. So the app has been removed from the Google Play Store, but McAfee says that there are probably many more apps like this. So we just wanted to let everyone know just to be careful what you download. Try to go to the source as much as you can. Like Google the app before you download it. Maybe even go through your phone right now and double check any tournament related apps that you may have downloaded recently and delete them because these sort of things always do kind of ramp up around big tournaments like the World Cup. So we want everyone to stay safe.
Yeah. I certainly don't have that many apps on my phone, whether they're sports related or not. And it's always because of stuff like this. Like, I know what to look out for and sort of how to, check the reviews and go to the source and make sure whatever I'm downloading is what it's supposed to be. But yeah, there's just always something in the back of my mind going like, you don't really need this. There's maybe just a 0.01% chance it's going to start mining cryptocurrency on your phone. But if you don't need it, then you don't download it. And
exactly.
It's just unfortunately a couple bad apples really ruin it for everyone. So
so be careful.
Yep.
And then one last story on the World Cup that honestly has nothing to do with technology. I just thought it was really funny. So in the US, Fox Sports owns the exclusive rights to broadcast the World Cup, and it set out a bunch of restrictions for other broadcasters that want to reuse some of its footage. So Fox basically said ESPN can't show game footage on any of its studio shows or on its website, and that SportsCenter is limited to 2 minutes of World Cup highlights per show, and only between 6 p.m. and midnight in Eastern times. So those are ridiculous restrictions. I didn't even know they existed until I found out this story. But anyway, ESPN has gotten creative to get around some of these rules because obviously they're still a sports broadcaster and they still need to cover the tournament in some capacity. So for Scott Van Pelt's midnight show, for example, his producer decided to ask his 5-year-old daughter to draw recap pictures of the World Cup and started the hashtag #DrawTheWorldCup, where they asked anyone who has kids to send in their pictures recapping the games, and they started showing those on broadcasts. And then some analysts like Taylor Twellman got into it as well and actually went out to go buy packs of markers and crayons to draw his own recaps to show on the segment. And let me tell you, I did watch some of them, and they're quite funny. These grown men showing these terrible cartoon crayon drawings of the World Cup. But anyways, on another show they decided they didn't want to use those, so the anchors broke down important game moments by recreating them with Lego, although that turned out to be too labor intensive to keep it going consistently, so it has stopped so far. And then after Neymar's ridiculous dramatic dive in the game versus Mexico that I already mentioned, John Buccigross actually did the broadcast lying down on the floor to show viewers what it had been like to watch Neymar's flop in real time. And I mean, I just think this is all really funny, and I love these guys so much for kind of going out of their way to cover the tournament despite having so many roadblocks put in front of them. I think it was really clever.
Got to get some content up on TV, so and that's actually hilarious.
Anything for journalism, guys. And then speaking of ESPN, it's teamed up with the NBA to offer a few new innovative alternative viewing experiences for specific games during the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, which started on July 6th. So there's now a live telecast called Summer League Live that's basically the full in-arena experience fused with traditional game coverage. So fans will get to see live in-venue entertainment, as well as updates on fashion and lifestyle, as well as some sort of interactive social media elements as well. And there's also going to be a segment called Dueling Analysts that is really exactly as it sounds. Basically, analysts will be pitted against each other in a fun and competitive game during the broadcast. And then there's also the Skycam View, which will serve as the main camera angle and will provide sort of a trailing view of the action. I think a lot of people are used to this view playing the NBA video games, and so you will actually have it for a real-life game. And then lastly, viewers who would rather hear the game called by their local announcers can do just that with the Hometown Live Call feature. So ESPN will be broadcasting all 82 games of this Summer League event, which actually ends on July 17th, I believe. So you'll have to jump in quickly to keep an eye out for some of these cool updates. But yeah.
That's cool. I like the Summer League, and even if you're not tapped into all these new additions and bells and whistles that are being implemented into the Summer League, like you can sort of see the effect of those things just from a much more like further away perspective. So you just see the Summer League put on Twitter, on like you see it on social media a lot more now. You see way more highlight reels on YouTube, and you just see much more chatter around it. It's because of these new technologies that are being implemented in the game, and it's just like exposing the game, the Summer League specifically, to many more people. And like that's good basketball that's being played there.
Yeah.
So like it's good to see that more people are being able to tune in. But then when you do dig in a lot deeper, all these new things are really cool.
And that's what keeps people there, right?
yeah. And that Skycam too especially is really neat.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually seen anything filmed in that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, it's mighty impressive.
Cool. Okay, and then in more partnership news, the NFLPA have joined forces with an augmented video company called Octi to create cartoon avatars of more than 2,000 NFL players. So the NFLPA decided to do this because it says it needs to engage younger demographics, which I almost take offense to. Because they're now betting on AR and cartoon avatars. But anyways, so Octi will create interactive AR avatars and body-based games, which gives fans the ability to turn themselves into their favorite players on screen. So this tech just uses a smartphone camera to recognize the human body without any additional sensors, and it automatically overlays 3D effects on someone when they're using it. So the NFLPA also invested in this company, which just finished a $7.5 million seed round. So Octi is doing quite well for itself. Again, I think this is a little weird. I mean, not all younger demographics are into AR or tech.
No, but it seems like a lot of
are.
sports teams, like we talked about tennis last week with Serena Williams, and the NBA is doing stuff with AR and VR. So that technology hasn't really taken off as quickly as people maybe expected at first.
Hasn't.
So it's kind of interesting to see professional sports teams throwing stuff on the wall and hoping it sticks, and
that's a really good way to put it,
and tapping into AR and VR in sometimes pretty interesting ways. This doesn't seem like one of them, but
no, this is just, I guess, a fan engagement thing.
Yeah,
whether anyone will care, I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe the NFL just needs something to give it a boost right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, and then again, more partnership news. There's a lot of this going on this week. Samsung has teamed up with The Score, which is a Toronto-based sports network, to incorporate sports scores and news into Bixby, which is Samsung's digital assistant that you can find on any Samsung device. So basically, users will be able to personalize Bixby by selecting specific sports teams and leagues to follow. You can even choose World Cup news if you want as well. I think all of the big tournaments will be supported by this. And so Bixby will allow Bixby will be able to provide scores when you ask for them, and it'll also be able to read the latest headlines for you, as well as let you access more information if you tap on what it's reading. Unfortunately, despite the score being Canadian, it looks like it's only available in the US right now, but a spokesperson for Samsung did mention to Mobile Syrup, which is a tech website here, that it should be rolled out in Canada sometime soon.
Fingers crossed.
I know. I mean, I don't have a Samsung phone, but if this happened to Siri, I would love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I already use Alexa for that purpose, so it would point. It would now be a mobile version.
That's right.
Okay. And one last partnership story. I swear we're almost done. The LPGA has extended its partnership with Japanese IT company NEC to make the organization's the organization's official technology partner. So NEC's technology is used by the LPGA for data analysis, communications, and even biometrics. So the LPGA will start using the company's Neo-Face recognition technology to enhance the safety of its events and allow for more streamlined entry into secure areas for media members, VIPs, and other credentialed people. So this was actually first used in a pilot project last year at the Anna Inspiration Tournament in California, and clearly it went so well that they're now implementing it across the board. So if you're into women's golf, you will be seeing this at the next tournament.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then next, for some news across the pond, apparently an arena in the Netherlands has installed Europe's largest energy storage system that uses electric vehicle batteries. So the Johan Cruyff Arena, I definitely might have butchered that, but there's a lot of vowels next to each other.
You tried.
I did try. So this arena is in Amsterdam, and it collaborated with Nissan and a couple other companies to create this sustainable energy system that powers the arena. So essentially, it's a 3 megawatt system made up of 148 Nissan Leaf batteries that basically produces enough energy to power thousands and thousands of houses. The system will provide backup power to reduce the use of diesel generators, and because it's a system made of batteries, it can also store energy from the arena's more than 4,000 solar panels on its roof, and then it can use all of this energy at specific times to take some pressure off the national energy grid. So this is not only more environmentally friendly than any other electricity system, it also reuses old electric vehicle batteries, and so kind of creates like a recycling system, if you will.
Yeah.
And so this also ties in with some North American news that I saw this week too, because we've seen a lot of new stadiums and arenas built with high-tech, environmentally friendly energy systems lately. So the Atlanta Falcons' new NFL stadium, for example, has enough solar panels to generate electricity to power 10 home games each season, which is pretty remarkable given the size of the place, first of all, and how much needs to actually be on and powered in there. I think it can fit about 70,000 people, so I mean, that's a lot of tech.
That is an enormous building.
Right? And then Fenway Park in Boston also has the solar thermal panels that helps the stadium heat water. And there's a report by the Solar Energy Industries Association, or SEIA, that says the solar capacity in U.S. professional sports has reached 46 megawatts, which essentially is enough energy to power about 8 to 10,000 homes. So it's really been an industry that's grown significantly over the last couple years. And the report also says that 32% of all NFL teams have some sort of solar panel system installed. And in the NBA and the MLB, they're not far behind either, with about 30% of their teams having some sort of solar capacity as well. And what's even more interesting is that all three teams that have won championships so far this year, or I guess the latter half of 2017, which are the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, they won the Super Bowl, the Washington Capitals just won the Stanley Cup, and the Golden State Warriors just won, I think it's the Lombardi Trophy? I got that right, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Got it. So they all play in facilities with solar panel systems in place, which is really cool. So I think we'll keep an eye out for some of this tech. And honestly, I'm going to talk about it later on in the show, so stay tuned.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of environmentally friendly things going on.
Yeah.
And we haven't even mentioned the Sacramento Kings, who are, I think, the most high-tech savvy team possibly in North America. And their entire stadium is powered by solar panels, I think.
Or like renewable sources
Yeah,
in general.
exactly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder with some teams who have owners, like there's a couple of them now in the NBA, like Dan Gilbert and a few others who just have pretty much full control of the team. If like all these renewable sources allows them to spend more money on players, like I just wonder how much do they have any say in like the facility itself and like what goes into that, or is that under someone else's? Is that in someone else's jurisdiction? I was just saying, like, that's a very good business case for an owner to be like, well, obviously, let's install renewable sources of power into this building, so then we can spend more money on players. Like, basically, like, I wonder if those two have any correlation because.
Or I wonder if a player would have any say, like if they're like really environmentally conscious and they want their team to become more. I wonder if they would have any sort of influence. I mean, I guess that depends on their skill set and how big of a star they are, but
I mean, I think that I might be stretching it, but like I think of the Golden State Warriors and like they signed so many high profile players and all-stars, and they're also obviously, like you said, on the forefront of this like green tech. So I'm just wondering, like, are they saving money on one end when it comes to like the facility and then able to like spend it on the players? Like, that'd be interesting to know. But
maybe we'll research that at some point. And then now in baseball news, apparently the MLB is teaming up with a tech company called Clear to launch biometric ticketing, which would let fans use their fingerprints and eventually facial recognition to enter ballparks across the country. So this pilot program will hit a few venues later this 2018 season, and it will be rolled out to all parks in 2019. So there will even be biometric concession stand purchasing available, specifically in Washington right now, where fans can use their fingerprints to validate their age and then pay for food and drinks. And some tech, like fast access security lanes, which is kind of like a TSA pre-clearance check, except using facial recognition, will actually be rolled out for this week's All-Star game in Washington, as well as during the postseason in a few specific stadiums. So I, for one, am quite excited about this. I do kind of think facial recognition is a little creepy, but it also make getting into stadiums and out of stadiums so much easier and so much faster.
Yeah, it is very
You look skeptical.
Icky, and like the fingerprint scanning stuff. Like where your data is stored and how it's distributed and where it goes. Like that is such a major concern for so many people. And like we have like if they were to perfect this process through like your cell phone or like your, through apps, I think that would be just as simple, as like, or almost as simple as facial recognition. Like I just feel like we don't have to take that deep dive as long as we can just perfect the technology we have now and make sure our data is secure and people aren't infringing on our privacy too much. Then I think we can just stick with what we have. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions surrounding that. And I'm actually really surprised that this is going to be happening so quickly, though. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be rolled out in a couple different stadiums this season.
Yeah.
And then all of them are going to have them next year.
Yeah.
Like, baseball is always seen as like a boring, kind of pastime that's never really up to date. But this is a really big step.
It is. The U.S. embraces some of this, emerging technology really fast and aggressively, and this is an example of that.
Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, Minor League Baseball, or MILB, has signed a long-term agreement with ISM Connect, which is a provider of data metric and smart screen engagement technology that's meant to promote live event experiences. So ISM will be putting HD, LCD dynamic smart screens in almost all MILB stadiums, and they'll be interactive, and they'll also have social media integration so fans can engage with unique content as well as digital marketing. And so this new tech will gather and generate data about consumers in each MILB market with the hopes of driving more fan engagement, getting more people to the stands, as well as increasing revenue at live events and facilitating more access for partners. So, yeah, that's it for the news today, I guess.
Yeah, quite a lot there.
It was a lot. I know. I'm sorry. That was like a journey that we all went on.
Oh, that's all right. It's just a lot of stuff happening.
It's true. It's our last show anyways.
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
That's right. Alrighty. Moving on to apps and wearables. A story in the Philadelphia Inquirer. There was a story about Dr. David Martin, who is the head sports scientist for this Philadelphia 76ers. And he recently pulled back the curtain to reveal some of the technology the team uses to help their athletes get better, recover from injuries, so on and so forth. And this special inside look took place recently during a sports science summit, and it was led by Martin. And according to the Inquirer, Martin opened up about a lot. So I can't go through it all, but I'm going to go through the list and just touch on a few of them, starting with shear wave ultrasound elastography. It sounds pretty complicated, but it's
a hard word to say.
It is. It is. And it's a device that tests tendons for elasticity, and that's crucial for any sport in which tendonitis is a factor. So that's one. Gym Aware. So it's a specific camera technology that tells players and coaches exactly how efficiently players are lifting weights and how powerful he or she is getting. So in this case, they reference Joel Embiid lifting weights. There's also Key Motion, automated filming platform, which is set up at the Sixers practice facility. So rather than have a bunch of interns walking around filming every single second of practice and then going home and then editing that footage and then putting it into a package that they can then show the players and the team the next day, these cameras, these cameras just are set up and they automatically pick up exactly where the player is and they follow the action that's taking place on the court, and then it actually like puts it together on its own in a pretty comprehensive like package.
Very cool.
Yeah. Second Spectrum, you've probably heard of that before. It's already installed in various NBA arenas. These cameras identify players' actions during games, sort of measuring the space in between spaces and like how effective they are running from one place to another, kind of measuring how often they run, how quickly they get from one place to another. Basically like trying to identify how hard players are working. I think one of the last ones I'll reference here is some technology called Respect. It's RSPCT, a shot tracking device, also set up at the practice facility that records shot accuracy from every spot. But in addition to that, it also records everything about that shot. So basically, if you want to, it helps you break down your shot mechanics, and you can use it to start from the ground up, shoot, change your shot, or just basically tweak small aspects of your of the mechanics to improve. So it's just a super, super useful piece of tech that can really like help improve your shot accuracy from anywhere on the court.
I wonder if, I know this is talking about the 76ers, but I wonder if that's how Steph Curry found out that his like optimum angle of shooting his free throws is like a 46-degree angle or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they use the same tech down in Golden State, but
I mean, I'm sure they have something very sophisticated.
They must.
I know Steph Curry's dad, who used to play for the Toronto Raptors and various other teams, Del Curry. He was an outstanding shooter. So I think with Steph Curry, it's more about like his upbringing, because this kid was exposed to the NBA court and like shooting on NBA courts from like a very young age.
That's true.
But obviously in today's day and age, I'm sure technology is all over the place at Golden State. But I think with Steph Curry, it is much more about like the physical, like the actual practice, being on a court, being in a physical NBA arena and being raised basically in there.
Yeah.
But
the natural born talent.
Yeah. And then on top of that, of course, he's worked on his shot and it's improved dramatically. So yeah, a bunch of crazy stuff there that they showed off, and there's a couple more. If you want to check out that full story and the full list of tech, go check it out on the Inquirer. Moving on, the MLB announced on Wednesday last week, or this week, sorry, that the league will host a new home run derby, a new home run derby VR championship during the All-Star Game festivities. So before all the action at Nationals Park, the MLB will crown its first ever home run derby virtual reality champion. Fans of all ages who attend the All-Star Game, All-Star Fan Fest, or Play Ballpark from Friday through Sunday, they get a chance to qualify for Monday's MLB Home Run Derby VR Championship. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. So this has actually been the Home Run Derby VR has been on the PlayStation and HTC Vive for a while, I believe since back in April. And now the MLB has sort of just taken that and integrated it into its All-Star weekend schedule.
I also didn't know when I was looking at this story that the Home Run Derby VR is basically the first VR game actually created by like a North American a sports organization.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I never really put two and two together.
Yeah, I mean, if I actually haven't tried it out myself. I don't have any VR devices, and I haven't heard any direct feedback from people, but like reading up on it very briefly, it seems like it actually functions the way like it's supposed to. Like it's supposed to, and like it's almost like real time connectivity, and yeah, like I imagine the MLB wants this to be good enough to have at an All-Star, be a part of the All-Star weekend schedule. So yeah, it makes sense to have the pro be sort of at the top of creating this.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it seems like it actually works and it functions well. So yeah, that is a good point. That's pretty interesting.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's some of the apps and wearables news that we have. Moving on to our concussion update. We have one specifically, but it's pretty interesting and slightly alarming. And it's a report from the Public Health Agency of Canada. And it says that roughly half of Canadians know basically nothing about the perils of sports-related concussive injuries. And they also don't really know where to turn to find information on how to avoid falling victim to head traumas. So this, like I said, was based on a federal survey. And specifically, it says that while 97% of respondents are aware of the concussion issue, which we obviously talk about a lot, and 97% respondents think it's an important health problem, only 51% say they know where to get information on avoiding those head traumas. And 46% of respondents reported knowing what to do when someone gets a concussion. And 40% said that they can recognize the symptoms. So yeah, a lot of people know from a surface level kind of understanding what the issue is and what concussions are. But in terms of like where to go for help, how to diagnose the problem, even knowing that you have a problem in the first place, the numbers drop dramatically. And in order to like solve the problem and to, as like a society, move past, some of the hurdles we're facing when it comes to concussions, you have to like know where to go to treat yourself and like where to get help, and like that's a failing kind of across the board, it seems, not just in sports.
Like those are really depressing numbers. And I mean, first and foremost, listen to the Tech and Sports podcast.
Yeah.
Because we kind of serve as a PSA for this.
Yeah.
But secondly, I do wonder too if I would love to know the demographics that they actually interviewed for this, because I do wonder if it does come down to age, right? Like we're fairly young. We're in our mid-20s. I think we know more about concussions, how they happen, how to treat them, how to diagnose them than our parents would, for example, or definitely our grandparents, right? They have no idea what concussions are, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right? I think it comes down to that.
So
we're educating these younger generations as they grow up and trying to play contact sports. But yeah, the older ones either brush it off, they think it's just part of a game, they don't take it seriously, or they don't care enough to research it.
I think, yeah, it's certainly a combination of all those things. And I think it's also worth noting, based on a previous report, which was came out in April. This is from a report from Medscape. And it says that only 40% of youth concussions are caused by contact sports. So that's kind of another element to this, that, head trauma doesn't necessarily come from sports.
It's true.
It can come from a wide variety of things. And that's also, I think maybe that's where young people are even less aware of like head traumas and like where they come from and like how to treat it, because it happens outside of sports. And I think it might be safe to say the majority of people would assume that like most concussions obviously happen in sports and getting hit in the head with a ball or whatever. But like, no, it definitely happens outside of that.
Yeah, and if you have
context.
Yeah, and if you have a low baseline too of head injuries, right? Like all it takes is just whacking your head off of your car door or something in the morning, and you could give yourself a minor concussion. Like it is really that easy.
Yeah.
Our brain is so fragile.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So protect your brain, know your resources, understand the support systems you have when it comes to head traumas, know where to turn to help.
Wear helmets all the time.
Yeah, basically. It's serious stuff. So, this is pretty alarming numbers, but some strides are being made. And when it comes to the technology around concussions and trying to prevent them, concussion prevention, and, us talking about it is certainly a step in the right direction. But people need to like really take this by the horn and like take the initiative and learn about it on their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it for our concussion update. Now we're going to move on to our last discussion. So today we wanted to focus on the future. So what will the world of sports look like in 5, 10, even 20 years from now because of technology? Sports tech has changed so quickly over the last couple years that even in the short term, I think we can expect a lot of disruption, and we may not even recognize certain sports in the long term. I saw ESPN the other day actually talking about whether pro football is going to turn into a flag football league. Like that was ESPN talking about it. So that this is getting pretty big.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're by no means experts in this at all, but we've both been covering tech for quite a while now, and we're obviously lifelong sports fans. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we weren't. So I do think that we have a decent idea of what maybe to expect next. So that's what our discussion is on today. Do you want to take it away, Coop?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's mighty interesting. There's so much to talk about, but I guess if we want to try and break it down, in the short term, so let's just say maybe in the next 5 years, I think that the technologies and the resources we have at our disposal now, so AI and AR and VR, these capabilities will become perfected or, come close to being perfected. You're going to see them around a lot more. You're going to see them much more directly applied to broadcasting, directly applied to the games themselves. You're already seeing, like in the World Cup, AI helping with video replay and things like that. So I think you're just going to see that integration become seamless. It's going to become the norm. You're going to see social media play an even bigger part, I think, as time goes on, play a bigger part in fan interaction. Just drawing more people to the game, giving people even more opportunities to watch games. So streaming capabilities, I think, are going to improve even more than they are now. Obviously, 5G is just around the corner. So that's going to allow for like real-time integration into VR and AR. So you're going to be able to like really put yourself into the arena, which is kind of already happening in certain ways, but like 5G really opens up so many doors, and like in 5 years, people are going to figure out how to tap into that tech and like really instantaneously bring the game to you or put yourself into the game. If you've seen any augmented reality stuff today, then just imagine that improved and like looking better and working better. So that's the very like near future.
Your long-term one is what I'm excited about.
Yeah, well, I think in the long term, I think it's inevitable that we're gonna see a shift from the sports and the sporting events we have now to the more dicier or like frowned upon versions of sports. I just really think that people are going to want to see the human body pushed to its limits, see what it can do. And I think I'd like to see a sports league or some kind of environment where people are allowed to basically do whatever they want with the human body, push themselves to the limit, use performance enhancing drugs or anything to, like I said, see what the human body can do,
like
crush
super suits,
crush those world records, super suits, robotic augmentations. I mean, you already see in today's world the augmentations in health and like in health, in the healthcare industry. I think it's inevitable that people are just going to start tapping into that technology to just make the event even better. So like in UFC or in track and field, like I think that stuff is going to really bleed into the stuff that we're seeing now. Now, it's not to say I want to see people juice up and like kill themselves and overdose. I think there's going to be some level of like regulation, or like people are going to be smart enough to not push themselves over the edge to where they wipe themselves out. But I really do think that 10, 20 years, we're going to see just another branch of sports where this stuff is much more normalized, and augmentations and performance enhancers are just going to become much more normal. And I think people are going to want to see that happen.
Yeah, because like, I mean, we were talking about this before the show. In 2008, in the Beijing Olympics, right? They had those super swimsuits that everyone used, and they broke almost every single record. But then these suits got banned afterwards. So imagine having kind of a separate swimming competition where everyone was allowed to wear those, or to like modify their body however they wanted. If they wanted to wear flippers, like fine, do it.
That's right. And like, to be clear, we don't want that to be merged in with the existing sports that we have.
Separated.
Like we don't want cheating to be taking place, but entirely separate competition where this stuff is happening. And of course, then the question is, well, who's going to want to watch what we're watching today? I still think there would be an audience for that.
It's still authentic, yeah.
But
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but like, it's undeniable that that new stuff is going to be much more compelling, and that's just the way things go.
Maybe it'll reduce cheating in like normal sports too, because then you get the cheaters like just go to this other league where you can do whatever you want to do.
I mean, you see this government-sponsored doping, like with Russia not too long ago. I mean, drilling holes into the wall and having these secret tunnels to like hide urine samples and do this and that. So like, yeah, just have it in the open. Don't cheat in the regular system, and I think it'll be fascinating to see like the 100-meter sprint done in less than 9 seconds or something like that. Like that would be incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. And like, cyborgs fighting in the UFC ring, like
that would be
who would not want to see that? So that's my prediction.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty good. I don't have anything exciting like that, but I kind of focus a little bit more, I guess, short term.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like AR and VR have taken over so much already, and they're only going to be more disruptive, especially for live sports. So I wanted to focus on what sports facilities would look like in the future, because again, this ties in with a couple of our news segments today as well. And so I don't think it's bold to say that we'll see a big decrease of people actually going to games and live events in person, because I mean, A, it's already happening now. It is a trend in almost every sports league right now. And that B, games are generally more comfortable and convenient and cheaper also to watch at home, right? Especially if you can now get an amazing view through a VR headset. I mean, it's not the same as going to a live event, but I've heard a lot of people say that this is the future that they want because it's cheaper. They can still be at home, but they feel like they're there, right? So I think sports stadiums and ballparks and arenas will have to double down on using technology to get people to the games, and as well to keep operational costs down at a time when they're losing out on that revenue of people actually attending games live. So I think every new stadium will be built, will be powered largely by solar panels and batteries and other environmentally friendly options, because those reduce operating costs for the most part and allow stadiums to function even if they do start to see a decline in people going to games. And then I've already covered the MLB moving towards facial recognition and fingerprints instead of physical tickets. And I mean, that's going to happen. Like, that's only going to get stronger and expand going forward. I mean,
like we said, it's happening now.
Yeah.
Almost, so.
In the MLB, every stadium will have a fingerprint scanner in some capacity next year, right? And so that'll expand definitely to other leagues. And paper will soon be a thing of the past. I mean, a lot of places have mobile ticketing right now as it is, but I think it's just going to go even beyond that. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see that. And I mean, I know that some NFL and NHL teams are also playing with the idea of facial recognition. So I think within 5 years, every league and every stadium arena in North America, doesn't matter if it's basketball, hockey, football, whatever, I think they will all have this digital system. Yeah. And I mean, I think besides this privacy and security risk, I think it does generally streamline things and help people get into stadiums a little bit quicker. So that's kind of my prediction. That is sort of a short term, but also long term. Like, I think it's going to change everything. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the future of like sports stadiums and how they're going to continue to try and draw people into the arenas when it's so much more comfortable to watch games from home and tap into those games via virtual reality and AR. But I wonder if it's what's happening right now with the movie, like with cinemas and like the movie industry, where people are just waiting for the movie to come out on DVD or Blu-ray, DVD, what am I, like 100 years old? So Blu-ray and HD, and then just watching it from home. And obviously the movie industry is adjusting by creating these VIP experiences and like making it a much more exclusive experience, jacking up the prices like crazy. So I wonder, I don't think the sporting world is there yet where they're struggling to get people through the doors, but I wonder once the technology develops to the point where like you can be at home and like have an incredible experience from there through your phone. That sounds crazy to me right now, but I feel like something like that is in the pipeline. So I wonder if they're going to maybe have a much more like reduce the seating capacity in the arena and make it a much more like exclusive experience and just jack up the ticket prices and something like that.
I definitely thought about that too, which I mean would really just cater towards wealthy people, right? Because they'd be the only ones that are able to afford them. And I mean that happens in a lot of cities anyways. Like Toronto is notorious for it. The entire lower bowl of the Air Canada Centre, oh god no, it's the Scotiabank Arena now. Ew.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've said that out loud. Oh my god. But anyways, like the lower bowl is notorious for just like being suits, all the fancy lawyers from downtown Toronto, all the business people. It's just full of those kinds of fans.
Well, especially for the Leafs games, like Toronto Leafs tickets are crazy expensive. And so are Raptors tickets, but like hockey is still the bread and butter of the ML of the overarching organization that governs the Toronto sports team.
Yeah.
So,
MLSE. Yeah. So I do kind of wonder if maybe we'd be going to two streams. Like you'd have people that maybe can't afford to go to games live. They would just buy a headset and they could watch, from a front row seat, but just for a fraction of the cost at home. Yeah. And then you have actually people going to do games who are much wealthier that can actually afford those kinds of experiences. Which is a little sad, I guess, saying it out loud. But
yeah, well, that's what I was saying. It sounds crazy to me that that's possible, but then you think about it, it seems like it's inevitable.
Yeah. And again, like this is definitely not like a 10 or even a 20-year plan. Like this is probably more of like 50 to 70 years down the road, I want to say.
Yeah.
And we may be dead. I don't know. Maybe we won't ever even see it, but we could.
Yeah.
I think it might happen.
I think some of those things you mentioned, you sit like watching a game from home through a VR or AR headset or something like that. I think that will start to happen much, much sooner, maybe even within 5 to 10 years. But in terms of like having that exclusive experience for people attending the games, basically forcing out people who can't afford it, that is definitely down the road. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Like hopefully people can still sort of afford to go to these games, have it reasonably priced where you could still have it as a birthday gift or something. And like, like there's nothing like going to a game. Like I'd like to think that a little kid can have a birthday and the surprise gift is, oh, we're going to go to a sporting event and like you're going to get a good seat like that. That is a great experience. So hopefully that doesn't disappear.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we're hoping for the best, but also the way the world is going right now, not so great. All right. Well, anyways, that is it for the episode today. That was episode 52. So that means we've done a whole year of this, which is, honestly, that's just freaking incredible. I never expected that we would get this far. So again, thank you to everyone who has ever listened to us. We really appreciate it. Again, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mandy V. Kovacs and Alex is at Alex. It's just Alex Coop.
That's right.
And then our Twitter handle, I guess, for Tech and Sports is ITB Tech and Sports. So yeah, again, this is kind of goodbye, possibly permanently. We're not really sure. Yeah, it's definitely a hiatus for a little while. But like Mandy said, keep an eye out for us in the future. Tech and Sports, there's a good chance it will return in some way, shape, or form with some familiar voices. So don't forget about us. I think we do a really cool job. There are not many people talking about this stuff anyways. No, and it is mighty interesting. There's a lot of overlap between technology and sports, and it's just going to continue. Exactly. So once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Take care.